So let's give it up one more time for our past president, Paula Everett. So obviously I think anyone who's been in this room has gotten an email, or even if this is your first time with the MBBA, you've probably seen on Paula's face, or you've probably seen some of the stuff that's done with the MBBA. And the thing about it is, yes, there's a lot that's been done, but you don't see the half of what was going on behind it. Just the stuff that I'm just CC'd on. It's really hard to be able to see that someone can be able to do so much work. And for me, I got involved with the MBBA probably about 8 years ago. And I'm really proud to say that, I think when I got started, it was toward the tail end of Joe Drayton's time. And then through Joe, and then through Nadine, then through Taya, and then through Paula, there's always seems to be this development of moving in the right direction. And without saying anything bad about anyone else, I really think that over these last 2 years, we've really taken like an extra step in the right direction. And that's all because we've been following the lead of Paula. So thank you again for. So I'm gonna have to get used to being able to do these type of things. But I guess what I would say is that one of the reasons why I decided I wanted to get involved and I ran to be president-elect a couple years ago is because I love seeing rooms like this. Like, whether it's a general body meeting, whether it's a board meeting, whether it's a black bar, some social meeting, you get to see so many attorneys of color. And then when you go back to your office, when you go back to the courtroom, or you go back to doing a deal, it's not always like that. And to me, the whole thing is that if we could really be able to galvanize each other, if we could really be able to organize ourselves, there's so much more that we could be doing. One of the things that I love is that I bet you if I asked anybody in this room right now, if they're happy where they are, probably 9 out of 10 times, people will probably say no. And that's because everybody, at least that I've spoken to so far, feels like there's so much more that they can be doing. And when you look back to maybe our parents or our grandparents, or certainly generations behind that, there is a limits to achievements. And while we still have our own issues and our own challenges, there's so much more we can do, and just the fact that we know we can, it really makes a difference. To me, I think about how I got here, and I think about how everyone I've met here has got here. And yeah, sure, part of it is you get here because of individual effort. You get here because of family and friends who believed in you, maybe at times when you may not have even believed in yourself. You got here because of mentors and teachers and the villages that each one of us have behind ourselves. But we also got here because of the civil rights movement. And when we look at what's going on today, we really have to take a step back and figure out what it is we could be doing to make a difference. For all of us, before we become an attorney, before we actually be able to go out there and have that Esquire behind our name, we have to get admitted to the bar. And one of the things we had to do is pledge that we are going to preserve and uphold the law. But for too many generations, the law didn't do the same for us. You could go through so many cases, and I don't want to go through a whole history lesson, because everybody here probably knows that. But one of the reasons we also got here is because people stepped up and changed the law so that people like us could have the opportunities that we have. And in 2018, in a year that marks the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King, the sanitation workers strike that sparked a movement, the Civil Rights Act that provided fair housing to all of us. And then the fact of the matter is, when you look at the idea that just 50 years later, we still are going against forces that are trying to take us back, it's time for an organization like ours to be able to start taking that next step and making sure that we can do more for others. Now, to me, one of the quotes that I try to think about is Dr. King once said that, when it's darkness, that's when you see the stars. And whenever I go into an MBBA room, in this room today, I feel like I'm seeing a constellation of advocates. I see folks who, if we can work together and we can be organized about what we're doing, we can be doing things to make things better for the next generation. In an organization, where the mantra is "an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice anywhere," we all have an obligation to really look at the arc of history and bend it toward a brighter future. So for me, I want to let you know that we are definitely going to be doing a whole lot of the stuff that we've been doing to this day. We're going to make sure that we have reception events to make sure that we're developing our network. We're going to make sure that we're continuing to develop in professional skills to make sure that all of us can continue to hit our, hit our dreams. But what we're also going to be doing is having a recommitment to social justice issues. And we've been doing a lot of that so far, but we're going to be taking that next step. We're going to make sure that, for example, when it comes to reforming the criminal justice system, we're not just going to put together a plan. We're going to start identifying individuals who should be attorneys. In fact, I was just talking with Judge Daniels, who came in, about this about a week ago. We're going to start putting together a program where we're identifying individuals who want to be judges and making sure that they have the resources and the qualifications and the preparation, so when an opportunity shows up, we could be able to say we have 5 people, we have 10 people, we have 30 people who would be great for this opportunity. We're going to start making sure with the I'm a Solution programs that we do, that we're not just organizing a research paper of different ideas, but we're going to start looking at innovative ways that we can start turning some of those great ideas that we are hearing into some type of substantive policy here. We're going to make sure that the people and the folks in the communities that raised us have legal representation. We're going to make sure we have clinics in Queens, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx. I heard Bronx earlier. To make sure. We're going to do it in Staten Island too. But the main thing. Yes. But the main thing, though, is that we want to make sure that those who come from the communities that raised us, have some type of access to housing attorneys, have some type of access to immigration attorneys, to everything that's going on, and making sure that we're pooling our resources so it's not just us that are moving in the right direction, but it's the communities that helped get us here. So with that said, for those of you who have been active members, I thank you. For those who are here for the first time, or for those who have been passive members of the MBBA, there's one thing I'd like to leave you with and ask you is to just take a step back and just believe again. Believe that as a group that we can make a difference. Think about the things. Whenever I feel I get myself to a point when I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing, I think back to my law school essays and I ask myself, am I doing what I said in those essays, or am I moving myself in a direction toward that? And I'd like for all of us to do that same type of thing and to believe and to join us. And not just because I'm up here saying this, and not because Paula, not because of Anta, or because you just believe the MBBA could be a vehicle for change, but because we believe that you can. Thanks.